Oogenesis is the process of producing eggs or ova within the female's ovaries. Oogenesis is very similar to spermatogenesis, but there are some differences, or oddities as I have them labeled on this slide. One of the unique things about oogenesis is that about half of it occurs before the female is even born, unlike males where spermatogenesis doesn't even begin until puberty. A female is actually born with every egg she will ever have. Another uniqueness to oogenesis is that the process of fertilization, where the sperm and the egg combine, the process of fertilization actually occurs before the process of meiosis is complete in oogenesis. So like spermatogenesis, oogenesis is going to involve the process of meiosis, but it doesn't even finish until fertilization occurs. So it kind of looks like you're putting the horse before the cart there, but it works out. There are stages to oogenesis that are similar to the stages of spermatogenesis. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can recall the different stages to spermatogenesis. I left some blanks here for you to fill in. When you know the answer, go ahead and hit play and see if you got them right. Spermatogenesis begins with the sperm stem cell called the spermatogonia. The spermatogonia will undergo mitosis, producing a primary spermatocyte, which will undergo meiosis 1, which produces a secondary spermatocyte, which will go through meiosis 2, producing spermatids. The spermatids will undergo spermiogenesis, which is sperm maturation, producing spermatozoa or sperm. Like spermatogenesis, oogenesis will go through stages where we start off with a stem cell, and then we get a primary cell, and then we get a secondary cell, and that's kind of where it stops for oogenesis. So let's look at those specific stages then. The first stage of oogenesis involves the oogonium, which is the stem cell for eggs. The oogonium undergoes mitosis, producing 2 cells. We will reserve one of those cells to make more oogonia, but the other cell will become our primary oocyte. This was exactly the same in spermatogenesis, except we had spermatogonia and primary spermatocytes. The primary oocyte will undergo meiosis 1, producing 2 cells. One of those cells becomes something called the first polar body. So this is something unique to oogenesis. We didn't have anything called polar bodies in spermatogenesis. So when that primary oocyte goes through the process of meiosis 1, we end up with 2 cells at the end. One of those cells is called a polar body and it dies. The other cell becomes our secondary oocyte. The secondary oocyte will go through the process of meiosis 2, producing 2 haploid cells. And I'm putting cells in quotation here because remember, the process of meiosis 2 does not complete in the egg unless fertilization occurs. What we have is basically one cell, but the 2 sets of chromosomes have been separated out. One of those sets of chromosomes will be fertilized with the sperm, and the other set becomes another polar body, which dies. As I said before, a woman is born with every egg she will ever have. All of those eggs are at the stage of primary oocyte at birth. The primary oocytes are paused in the middle of meiosis 1 at birth, and basically they stay that way until puberty occurs. At puberty, just one primary oocyte is selected to resume meiosis 1 and become that secondary oocyte. Every month thereafter, another primary oocyte will be selected to become the secondary oocyte. The secondary oocyte is paused during meiosis 2, and it will not complete that process unless a sperm penetrates the cell membrane of the egg and then fertilization occurs. Upon penetration, meiosis 2 will resume and complete, producing 2 sets of 23 chromosomes in the egg. 23 of those chromosomes are going to combine with the sperm, forming the zygote, and the other 23, of course, become the polar body that dies. Let's see if you understand the process of oogenesis. See if you can fill in this flow chart with the words provided. Go ahead and pause the video, give it a try, and when you're ready, hit play to see if you're correct. So here's the answer to the flow chart. We of course start off with our oogonia that go through the process of mitosis, becoming primary oocytes. The primary oocytes begin meiosis 1. Once meiosis 1 is complete, we have one polar body and the secondary oocyte. The polar body dies and the secondary oocyte begins the process of meiosis 2. Assuming the process of fertilization occurs, the secondary oocyte will complete meiosis 2, producing another polar body that dies and 23 chromosomes that will combine with the sperm's 23 chromosomes.